Alright everyone, make sure you put on your seatbelts. You know that 80% of people who don't wear a seatbelt die in an auto accident. Honey, do we seriously have to go over this again? We do this every time before we leave the house. Oh, I'm sorry, honey, I'm just trying to save your life. Your life is important to me. Now put on your sunblock. Sunblock? In the car? I think I'll be okay. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Remember, honey, the sun is not your friend. Melanoma is a killer. Okay, fine. Alright, let's hit the road. Honey, is there a reason that you're only going 2 miles an hour? I'm glad you asked that, dear. Did you know that the faster you go on the highway, the more likely you are to be killed in an auto accident? But honey, sometimes you have to take risks. And we might not make it out of here because people are getting mad behind us. Hey, hurry up, Grandpa! Well, that's their fault. All I'm trying to do is save lives. Well, then we should have just bought a horse and carriage if we're gonna go this slow. I'm glad you brought that up, honey. Did you know that 1 out of 1,000 people die from being trampled by a horse every single year? Hey, Dad! Can I open up the window back here? It's hot outside! Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Sonny, because you know that more kids die in a window than other kids that don't die in a window. So make sure to keep that window up. Honey, please, let him just roll down the window just a little bit. No, dear. I'm here trying to save lives. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm getting out of here. I'm glad you brought that up, honey. Did you know that 354 people have died falling out of a moving car? Wait. Where did she go? Oh well, I guess she didn't want to save lives. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 26th episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. So as we continue to fight this coronavirus absolute craziness, there's one thing that seems to remain true, and that has been continuing to grow more and more true as the weeks and the months go by. The lockdown is not working for average Americans, and people want to be free. People want to be let out of their houses. People want to go to work. And this lockdown, of course, has been going on for a long time. I believe we'll be reaching our 3rd month at the end of May. So we are starting to see that people are getting a little bit restless on the subject of staying in their homes forever, as suicide hotlines have been going off the hook. Unemployment continues to climb into the areas of the Great Depression. And we are learning that people actually want to go to work and make a living to provide for their kids. Some people are even starving and have made sacrifices so their kids can live. So instead of the adults eating, they're only giving food to their kids so then they can live. These sacrifices that these people are doing is opening up their business, even though it is against the law. This happened to a salon owner in Texas named Shelley Luther, who was the owner of a Salon à la Mode, whatever that means, in Dallas, and she had been operating her business despite a temporary restraining order last week from Dallas County State District Judge Eric Mauer. She kept operating despite a county official's cease and desist letter ordering her to close, a letter she ripped up before a crowd of protesters in a theatrical display of defiance against an open Texas rally in Frisco, Texas, on April 25th. As she continued to run her business, she was arrested, and she had an opportunity to get out of jail, as the judge told her that if she admitted that what she was doing was selfish and endangering the community, then the judge would let her go. Luther refused and said, "I have to disagree with you, sir. When you say that I'm selfish because feeding my kids is not selfish. I have hairstylists that are going hungry because they'd rather feed their kids. So, sir, if you think the law is more important than kids getting fed, then please go ahead with your decision. But I am not going to shut down the salon." And so luckily the Texas Supreme Court heard about this case, and they stepped in and they made sure that this woman was not imprisoned for her actions, and she was only going to go to jail for a week. But because of the Texas Supreme Court, and also even the Texas governor coming out and saying, hey, this is wrong, why are we doing this? Why are we arresting people who are trying to provide for their family? And this has just led to a lot of different craziness, because they want to arrest this woman. At the same time, they're releasing criminals in New York. They are giving alcohol and marijuana and other drug substances to homeless people who are living in hotels. And this woman can't run her own business while socially distancing, while making sure she and her customers are wearing a mask. That makes no sense. And it just goes to show how crazy the government has been in their overreach in this whole entire COVID-19 craziness. Speaking of craziness, it is absolutely crazy to think that a person just trying to make a living is now deemed as being selfish or being rude to the community around them. As people, we have started to learn more and more need to work so then they can get money to survive. We are beginning to see that people are getting absolutely sick and tired of the lockdowns. And we are starting to see people ignore the rules and go out anyway. Because why not? If you have driven down the highway recently, you will see this. When Whitmer first put on her stay home, stay safe order, a lot of people stayed home. Because they thought, hey, maybe this will last a few weeks. That's not too bad. We'll just stay home. We'll relax. Now, we are in month 3. As this week, Whitmer extended the lockdown to May 28th. And there are rumors that she will try and push it even further. This is unsustainable. And this has seemed to be a theme for these Democratic governors. As many governors, including Andrew, I'm not going to clean the subways, or if senior citizens had COVID-19, I will force them to go back to a nursing home, Cuomo has said, if you ask the American people to choose between public health and the economy, then it's no contest. No American is going to say accelerate the economy at the cost of human lives, because no American is going to say how much a life is worth. Now, this makes sense to me, because it shows that the governor wants to save lives. That is his goal. The governor wants to save people from dying. The thing is that this is absolutely impossible. And the idea that a governor is going to save your life at all is absolutely absurd, as there is no way that one person can prevent another person from dying. It is sad, but it is true. If Andrew Cuomo or any Democratic governor wanted to save lives, they would lower the speed limit to 35 on every roadway and even on the highway. If every life is important, then we would have to do that, of course, unless you want people to die. Along with this, if these Democratic governors wanted to save lives and every life is important, then they should be on the front lines fighting against abortion. Last but not least, if every governor wanted to save every single life, they would lock us in our houses forever, never able to see the light again, because that is the only way that these governors can, quote, get rid of death. And that's what they want to do. They want to, quote, ban death. And the point is that no matter what a governor does, people are going to die. And this is just a sad fact of life. Whenever there is a public policy, people have to weigh the pros and cons of that legislation. Going back to the example of the speed limit on the freeway, were there people that knew that when Michigan moved the speed limit from, say, 65 miles an hour to 75, that more people could be involved in crashes leading to death? Of course they did, because death is a fact of life. Now, I don't want people to die. I'm not saying that at all. But the idea that the governor is going to save every single life is not feasible. On the other side of the aisle, many Republican governors have said that if they open up their state, their cases will go up. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, said you're going to see an exponential increase in number of people testing positive on a daily basis. This is true, as of course more people will be out and about, but I believe that the American people can be responsible, and this means wearing a face mask. Along with this, the more people that get the virus and recover from it are helping us move closer to herd immunity. And there's a lot of people who have heard this term, herd immunity, and they get a little bit nervous about it. They get a little bit skittish about it. But don't get worried yet, because there are some good things to herd immunity, and there are some bad things that happen with herd immunity. So according to Johns Hopkins, herd immunity is when most of a population is immune to an infectious disease. This provides indirect protection or herd immunity to those who are not immune to the disease. Johns Hopkins gives this example, as it says, if 80% of a population is immune to a virus, 4 out of every 5 people who encounter someone with the disease won't get sick and won't spread the disease any further. In this way, the spread of the disease is kept under control. So the whole idea of herd immunity is that it is a natural way to defeat a virus, and it is usually helpful by using a vaccine with it. We have seen diseases like chickenpox, measles, polio all be eliminated in some way by herd immunity. We get a vaccine, which is just a part of the virus, a small portion of the virus. We inject it into people, and then the body fights off the infection, the small amount, and then people are immune to that disease. However, there is a problem with this idea, as we do not have a vaccine for the coronavirus yet. And some are saying that the vaccine will come around next year or maybe 2 years. We don't know. And as you can probably tell, there is no way that people are going to be stuck in their house for a year or 2 years. Well, we could do an approach that Sweden has taken, that was to not lock down at all. Most of the restaurants have remained open, and the government has released different guidelines, as most travel and mass gatherings are not allowed and some schools have been closed. But restrictions from the government are considerably less severe than many other countries. Restaurants, bars are still functioning. Some of them only have a minimal distance taking place, so they still have social distancing like we have, but their restrictions are a lot lower. They are not all staying in their house. They're able to go out and eat, and they're able to go to work, which is very important. And the government of Sweden is letting their citizens be responsible. And if some people want to stay in their house, they can. But if you want to go out and wear a face mask and socially distance, then the people can. It is interesting because I have personally seen this. As recently I went to a store, it was a bulk food store, there's a lot of people there, and what I saw was a lot of people in the store were wearing face masks, and they were socially distancing, and some of them were even wearing gloves. All the workers were wearing masks and being safe. I believe that the American people are responsible. They can go out wearing masks, wearing gloves, and all that good stuff that can prevent disease from spreading. So how has Sweden been doing with their herd immunity? Well, it does have some mixed reviews, as according to the New York Times, Sweden has the highest fatalities and case count per capita in Scandinavia, but in lower than some of its neighbors to the south, which is a good thing that their numbers are lower, but it isn't good that their numbers per capita are high. In some good news, in the capital Stockholm, the nation's top infectious disease official recently estimated that approximately 25% of the population has developed antibodies. What Sweden is trying to do is rip off the Band-Aid right now, get the virus over with, and continue to live their lives. And the more that people are getting antibodies, as we talked about before, the better, because as more antibodies move through the system, then the more people are immune to the virus, which is a good thing. However, the problem with the idea of herd immunity in America is that the population is much larger in America than it is in Sweden, and this could lead to more people dying in the U.S. as we try to step out and go back to work. Also, the bad thing about herd immunity is that it hurts the most vulnerable in the society. According to New York Times, death among the elderly in Sweden have been painfully high. In a more densely populated country like the United States, and with a large portion of vulnerable people, the human toll of herd immunity strategy in the United States could be devastating. This, of course, would not be ideal, as we want deaths to go down, but the question is, what are we supposed to do next? There seems to be no turn. What is the next step? As we explained already, we see that the Democrats want to stay closed forever, and Republicans actually want to try and open up the economy, even if it is a little bit, to get people back to work. Which plan is right? Which one is wrong? Can we ever recover? How do we get out of this mess. And this has been asked by a lot of people because it is absolutely insane. I just talked about at the very beginning of this episode how intense the unemployment numbers are, how intense the suicide numbers are. And people are saying that it's going to take 10 years to get our economy back rolling again. All the jobs that we've lost from this lockdown will take 10 years to get back. So what are we going to do? Are we just going to sit and wait forever? And it seems like, as I already said, the Democrats want us to stay inside while the Republicans want us to work. And I want you, the viewer, to remember that when the 2020 election comes around. Democrats wanted you to stay at home, while Republicans were out there fighting for you to go out and work and make a living for yourself. Because that is a very, very important thing that the Republicans are trying to at least open up safely, while the Democrats are just okay with us sitting at home forever. And with all these different thoughts roaming around of, what are we going to do next? How can we get out of this mess? Well, there is one plan that I'm a fan of, and I did not come up with this plan, but I think that it would be helpful that first we ramp up the science on the vaccine. So then it can be done faster. We can get the vaccine faster, and then we can release it, and then maybe more people will be able to get those antibodies, so then we can have herd immunity. No matter what happens, we have to reach herd immunity. That's the goal of any single disease that we have. So while we are waiting for this vaccine to come, the young and the healthy should be able to go back to work, while the older and more vulnerable population remains in quarantine until the vaccine comes out. This means that we protect old folks' homes and hospitals, and the people that are out working are wearing face masks. They're wearing gloves, and they're remaining to socially distance the best that they can. This, of course, can help stop the spread of the virus. But we must remember that as more people are outside, the disease may spread. But because only the younger people are outside, we know that the disease isn't as harmful to younger people as it is to older people. And along with this, the hospitals should be okay too, as we the people have been working very hard to lower the curve. And the reason that we lowered the curve was not just to save lives, but it was also supposed to help us prevent the hospital system from being overrun. We have done this, and many hospitals have started to lay people off, and they are not doing elective surgeries, which is a lot of money for the hospitals. And this has led to many hospitals to be hurt, just like other businesses. Now, to be clear, I don't want the hospitals to be overrun, but many people are not going to the hospitals because they are scared of the virus, which makes sense, of course. But if you are deathly ill with COVID-19, then you should go to the hospital, and that in some way could help prevent the spread of the disease. Because if you have COVID-19 in your house, and then you're going to give it off to your sister, to your brother, to your mom, to your dad, you need to go to the hospital and make sure that you get treated, and that can help prevent the spread of disease. And maybe this could help get us back to normal. So I like this plan. I'm not sure if it's going to work or if anyone is even going to accept it. But before I end this episode, I want to make a clear and open disclaimer on this whole episode. 1, I don't want people to die. 2, I don't want hospitals to be overrun. 3, no, I don't want grandma to die. But we need to learn that we need to take risks as a society to make sure that we can open up again and have our economy be okay again. The only thing that I truly want is for things to go back to normal. No more lockdowns, no more quarantines. I want to be free. Hopefully that will come soon, but we might just have to wait for, hopefully, May 28th. I'm praying and I'm hoping that May 28th will be the day in Michigan that we will finally be able to open up, even if it is just a little bit. I'm hoping that that will be the day that we'll be able to step outside and I'll be able to go back to work again. That's what I'm excited for. However, for this episode, I want to thank you for listening to the Dockery Docket, for liking, subscribing, and sharing my content on social media. It truly means so much to me. So make sure you stay in touch by following me on Instagram and Twitter. And until next week, on Tuesday at noonish, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving. Goodbye.